Hi, everyone. One of the comments I get most often is, I've been a Christian for years. Why am I still struggling with this? Have you ever asked that question? Maybe there's a habit in your life that you just can't control no matter how hard you try. Or maybe you're stuck in some negative emotion. Maybe you're constantly angry with somebody. Maybe you're yelling at your kids. Maybe you're anxious. You struggle with anxiety or insecurity, envy, sadness. These are all common things for us to struggle with. So you're not the only one struggling with it. We all are. The problem is we don't really know how to change. At least that was my problem 25 years ago. I was stuck in anger at the time and I tried to get over it. I tried with everything I had to get over it and I couldn't do it. The problem wasn't that I was struggling. The problem was that I didn't know how to change. I didn't know how to let go of those angry thoughts that were fueling my angry emotions. But then God stepped in. He stepped in an unusual way. My husband and I did a marriage Bible study with some friends of ours, just one other couple, and we each said, let's each of us choose one thing to work on, something that will help us in our marriage. So I decided to work on my critical spirit because at that time in my life, I was a person who focused on the negative, and I focused on the negative in my husband too. So I thought, I'm going to start a Think Positive project. I brought a little journal and I got my pen, and my plan was every time I had a negative thought towards my husband, I'd write it down in my journal and I'd write a positive thought right next to it. So I was very faithful to do this. And before long, I noticed a trend. All those negative thoughts, most of them were lies. So I started replacing lies with truth, and I called it truth journaling. God used that discipline to change my life, to change my relationship with Him, my excitement about the Bible more than any other practice I've done. And in this video, I want to teach you guys how to renew your mind. At the time, I did not know that truth journaling was a way to renew your mind. I thought it was just a way to help me get rid of my angry feelings. But later I learned that, you know what, that is what the renewing of the mind is. It's a taking off of our lies that we believe, taken off of the cultural perspective, and putting on the truth, putting on a biblical perspective. My name is Barb Raveling, and my passion is to teach people how to renew their minds so they can grow closer to God and more like Him. And in this 4-part video series, I'll teach you practical ways to renew your mind so that you too can break free from whatever it is you want to get unstuck from. I also want to help those of you who have already been using my studies, my online courses, my books, so you know how to renew your mind, but you can't make yourself do it. Because not only do we need to know how to change, we need to put in the effort with God to change. Salvation happens in an instant, but sanctification is a process. It's walking together with God every day, working on our weaknesses and our sins that keep us from loving others well, and also keep us from experiencing the fruit of the Spirit. Back in those days when I was dwelling on the negative and angry, I would guess I was annoyed or upset about 90% of the time. After I did my little project, my Replacing Lies with Truth project, for 2 months, and in 2 months, I had this radical change. Taking off the lies, putting on the truth, it changed my emotions. I wasn't angry as often. And when I wasn't angry as intensely. And I could also let go of the anger in like a minute or two. And it also changed my feelings. So my feelings towards my husband completely changed in those 2 months. God changed me through it. And if God can change me, He can change you. Because here's what I learned. This process is the process for change in our walk with God. Romans 12:2 tells us we are transformed by the renewing of the mind. And Paul explains that further in Ephesians 4:22-24, where he says that in reference to your former manner of life, you lay aside the old self, which is being corrupted in accordance with the lust of deceit, and that you be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and put on the new self, which in the likeness of God has been created in righteousness and holiness of the truth. And if you look at that phrase, lust of deceit, in the Greek, that little word of, it means comes from. So the lusts come from the deceit. The lusts come from the lies that we believe. So our intense desires to do our habits, they come from the lies we believe. And also, our negative emotions are often coming from the lies we believe. Yes, they usually stem from some sort of hard thing we're going through, but they become more intense and more prolonged because of the lies we believe. And then notice too that we are created in righteousness and holiness that comes from the truth. So the truth actually changes your desires. So, what is the renewing of the mind? The renewing of mind is a taking off and a putting on. We need an engaged mind to renew our minds, and we need to be changed by the end of it. So, we need a changed mind. Otherwise, it's not a renewing of the mind experience. Some people have asked, how can I be a Christian all my life, read my Bible every day, but I'm not changing from year to year? And the reason is just because you read the Bible, that doesn't mean your mind is being renewed, right? Because we can read a section that, first of all, has nothing to do with whatever we're trying to change. So if I'm trying to say, break a habit, break my phone habit, reading the genealogy in one of those Old Testament books, that's not going to help me break my phone habit, right? So we need to have targeted renewing. We need to renew on specific Bible verses that will help us change in whatever area we need to change. We have to have an engaged mind. We have to have a changed mind by the end of it. You'll know that you renewed your mind because you'll find in that moment, your desire for the habit will change, or in that moment, your emotion will either disappear altogether, that negative emotion, or it will become far less intense. So don't worry about all that now, because we'll be working on that in the next 2 videos. I'll give you some very practical tools you can use to renew your mind. But in this video, I just want you to start thinking about one thing, and that is, what area of your life would you like to change? So would you like to change an emotion, like learn to break free from some negative emotion? That's actually an easier project if you're just getting started with the renewing of the mind. Or would you like to change a habit? If you'd like to join with me in renewing your mind, hit the like button. I hope that many of you decide to join me. And also, I'd love to hear, what you're thinking of working on. If you feel free to share that, I'd love to hear that in the comments. Also, if you have any questions about the renewing of the mind or choosing a project to work on, go ahead and do that. I'm going to be putting out these videos every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Montana time. That's Mountain Time. And I'll have 3 more videos after this one. And I hope it's going to be a time of shared growth, shared partnering with God for transformation, and renewing our minds together. It's great to have you here.